Hey, good evening. Welcome to Conversations with Friends. And tonight we're going to have a conversation, very interesting talk. We'll get some background. A conversation about the movie or show Ruth and Boaz. So we decided to do this conversation about Ruth and Boaz. And, we know that they were biblical characters. However, this particular show, it was a little different than the usual show that may have some religious background. It really, I think a lot of people that may know that Ruth and Boaz were biblical characters might have ran away from the show, might have ran away from the show, honestly, because some people feel like Tyler Perry goes a little too far. But Melodiq and myself will have a discussion about it. What's up, friend?
Hello, hello. Oh, I actually surprisingly enjoyed the movie. I thought it
You
was.
and me, you and me both.
I'm sorry.
You and me both. I thought it was dope, actually. Uh, which is surprising because I didn't have intention on watching it. I saw a friend of mine, actually, she's a mentor. She posted it, how she liked it. And I said, let me check it out. And I was pleasantly surprised at number one, the storyline, number two, Felicia Rashad narrating. And I think I said this to you is that I think that, sometimes we give our elders their flowers, but sometimes you got to watch them and be like, yo, they're really good at their craft. And Felicia Rashad, to me, nailed it. I mean, sometimes you can't take away from her playing the role of Claire Huxtable, but she, in my opinion, she nailed this role.
I've seen her
Now,
in so many different roles, Q, and I think that she constitutes Black excellence. I think she's amazing in regards to her acting and just the way that she carries herself. Oh, she reminds me of the Black people of old, the Black people that we grew up with.
yeah, she's definitely last of, as we would say, last of a dying breed. And it's like she takes the role, and yeah, anybody can get a script and be the person, but she does it with grace. I mean, for those that, and I hope, spoiler alert, for those that saw the movie, even the ending scene, she could have killed him,
Right.
but she still showed him grace and was like, nah, the next one I won't miss. And that's just sometimes for us, when you grow up in those type of environments and families, and you see the elder from the block or the elder in your family, you know that they're giving you lifetime wisdom without yelling, screaming, kicking, going off. It's how they say it, what they say. That's the lesson. I
Absolutely.
really appreciate it. As well as everybody else. Like, sometimes you see the known celebrities playing roles. I was pleasantly shocked at Babyface, to be honest with you.
Really?
Uh, yeah, I thought his role was a little bit better than JD's. JD's seemed a little off.
Okay.
Um, Sometimes Jermaine Dupri, in certain things that he's done or interviews or something, he seems a little bit more humble. But in this, he just seemed off. Like, okay, if he's really going to play himself, how is he going to come off as himself? And I thought it was, even though that was part of the initial backstory, but I thought it was interesting
Well,
how he was.
I felt like his role was like minimal. It was a very small role. Um, I will say this about the movie. What I didn't like was hold on, because let me see the name of her manager. Hold on one second. Cyrus. Cyrus. I felt like Cyrus was a bit extreme. and his actions. Yes, you know, he was definitely forceful with her, but he was extreme. When he killed her boyfriend and the father, I just it didn't necessarily click right away, you know. And then when he went to the funeral, basically to let her know that, hey, you know, Naomi will be next. I was just like, yeah, one, I think I would have preferred if it built up to that story. I felt like it was just too quick. Um, you know, when her boyfriend passed away and the father passed away. But that's really the only complaint I had about the movie. Other than that, I enjoyed everything else. I definitely felt like Cyrus was very extreme in his actions, and I feel like she was very resilient, afraid but resilient. And I also,
It was definitely more to that story. Like you said, it was still, they would say, meat on the bone there. If you wanted to use Cyrus in that type of role, an extreme role, you could have gave us a little bit more context in that area.
absolutely
Her being really afraid,
right,
and him may have doing some things to her, like she didn't want to record no more, and all of a sudden you just decide to carjack and kill two people. Like you want from, as they say, 0 to 60 very quickly. Um,
indeed,
we didn't, unfortunately, we didn't probably didn't want to see it, but we didn't see him snatch her up.
right,
Like she was scared, but she wasn't scared. It did seem a little odd. Like, even though he was in the music business and he was not that big, like you just got $250,000 floating around, and this investment, anything a lot of times, and we know how that sometimes that industry for some people could be predatorial, which I always find interesting because even in movies, why would you go into an industry knowing how it is? I just find that crazy. People always complain about something, but you go into it. But anyway, it just seemed like it was a lot of meat there that Cyrus that they could have explained a little bit more.
right. They could have expanded on it. Agreed, and I definitely feel like um, they should have built up to the carjacking and the murder, and you know, several things should have happened before that. You know, before it was so extreme. Um, I will say this: there were so many different lessons in this movie. Naomi, um, I feel like Soraya, Ruth, really underestimated her level of one forgiveness, understanding, and just her how welcoming she was because she lost everything. She absolutely lost everything, and even in the midst of her losing everything, she was still able to open up her home and her heart to this young woman, even when she tried not to at first. Um, and I also deducted from the story that she suspected that there was definitely foul play because throughout the movie, just certain things she would say and reference, you could tell that she knew that something was amiss.
One of the things, right, and definitely, I definitely second your thought there. And in doing film, is so much that may have been left on the editing table because when you really sit back and think about it, it should have been a lot. And I understand they have to do budget, time frame, or how long they want this film to be, but it's so much backstory
Right,
that probably got cut out or could have been within the story that could have definitely gave us more context. All of a sudden, um, the father, the husband is not making the money he ain't paid, but he's a lawyer. He works at a firm. Like what's going on there? And then you use that as like a throwaway portion of the show, and then his mother did not really approve of Ruth performing where she was performing.
right,
But why did she feel the love or the connection for her son to allow? Now we understand you love for your son. daughter loves. However, they should have showed us that disapproval with your lifestyle, but I love you. I'm clinging to you. It just seemed like everything in that area was so fast.
Right.
I mean, and when you really think about it, the movie actually does go quick,
It
and
does.
they could have really, really gave us some more and explained it. And even with Boaz, I really like him as an actor. I know that he's been a lot in a lot of films. I actually used to watch him in P Valley. He's a very interesting actor. And I know that a lot of people always, he's controversial because he's in the reality shows, but I really think he did a good job as well.
Indeed. I think
I,
I've seen him in a couple of shows. I definitely watched him in P Valley. And I watched him in Harlem also, with Megan Good. But I think that this particular character definitely showed more depth in his acting skills. That's for sure. Um, I was pleasantly surprised. That's one. I think he did an awesome job. But I will also okay. I love the fact, and you and I talk about this often. The story overall, the movie overall, that it did not show a black woman being promiscuous. Oh my gosh. Because the way that we are portrayed in the media sometimes just takes away so much from what we are. So I really love that about this particular movie. Um, I definitely feel like they touched on the fact that she was, unwilling to be vulnerable, which guilty. Black women in general, we do find it very difficult to show vulnerability sometimes. So that's definitely a challenge, but I love the way that they did it in this movie, how they related in this movie. I think they did an excellent job.
I think that one of the reasons why yourself and myself we enjoyed this movie and how it correlates with what the whole premise of conversation with friends is. We need we need to tell our stories in a positive light. This is one of the craziest thing about film, network TV, streaming nowadays is that it shows the side of us that we're not always proud of. It now some of the stuff that it shows is reality. It happens, a bunch of nonsense that we would say happens, but also we do have healthy relationships. There are stories about love. There are stories about functional families that didn't come from dysfunction. And maybe for you and I, and why a lot of people don't like it is that we have gotten conditioned to watch dysfunction. And when a show like this comes along, it's a breath of fresh air because I know I shared this with you years ago, and even speaking about Felicia Rashad, I was not one of those people that believed in the Cosby Show. I was one of those people that thought the Cosby Show was a joke. Like I didn't see the imagery in what Dr. Cosby and those actors were trying to project with the Cosby Show in a different world. It wasn't until I came of age where I understand and appreciated why those portions of our story needed to be on film and how they were so influential in not letting the white world know that healthy black families exist, but letting each other know that healthy black families exist. Because we always think that, well, we got to come from struggle to some of us don't know nothing about that. Some of us don't know nothing about dysfunction, struggle, single parent homes. There's more there. And I think that this show, not that I'm going to say that a whole bunch of awards need to be given out for this show. I think that this show made a shift. It's part of the shift and a different narrative of our stories being told on these platforms in more of a positive light. And I think that's why, unfortunately, it isn't going viral because we're so used to reality nonsense shows that show, like you said, a black woman being beaten, being in dysfunction, dudes not showing up. I mean, one of the key scenes in the show was, she said to Boaz in reference to, he said, I didn't know. He said, I didn't tell you. He said, I should have, in reference, he said, it wasn't that you, what I should have been listening to what you weren't saying.
Right.
And a lot of times, that is one of the keys in relationships and friendships, is that we don't always listen to what a person isn't saying. And I really liked it. I thought that, and we don't get no promotion out of promoting nobody's shows. We do this out of the kindness of our hearts, and it's just something that we love to talk about. But I really think that they did a great job. I mean, I forget the other brother's name, Tyler Perry. Uh, they did a good job with telling this story.
Indeed. I love the fact that he was very patient with her. And even when he was at a point where she inadvertently pulled him in her storm, not that she was trying to, because she was trying to keep him out of her storm, and he still got pulled in, he was still gracious. I think when it comes to male and female, like you said, you see all of these reality shows where we're constantly at odds with one another. Everyone is always like glorifying the negativity, and to actually see, you know, two people of the opposite sex show each other grace and kindness and understanding, that it says a lot about, you know, what we need.
Hmm. Hmm.
We
And it
absolutely
didn't.
need to see
It
that.
didn't.
We need to incorporate that into our daily routine.
Yeah, and it didn't show him as. I hate to use the word. It didn't show him as the super thug. I mean, even prior to her not realizing that she was Boaz was who he was, as far as the owner of the winery, he wasn't overly extra. Took care of his employees. When you live in those type of small towns, it may be two and three companies in the town, and that run the town. So everybody knew Boaz. He wasn't super arrogant. He just basically, and he even explained it, his background. Like, he worked in the big city, and he came back to take care of his father's dream. You didn't even see him angry at the fire like that.
Right,
He was just like, it is what it is. And then, like you said, they knew, kind of like, okay, this storm that we're getting is coming from somebody new in our midst. So,
right,
I thought it was interesting. And one thing I did appreciate, that even though, and we talked about this, even though in spite of what some of the differences in race culture that we see in different areas, that one thing I appreciated, it's funny because you have the hat on, right? Um, you really understand that country music is Black culture. A lot of people don't understand how it came from black culture. This is why it's called country.
so many different genres
And
of Black culture.
even in the bar, it gave the feel of all is love, karaoke night. It wasn't. It just was really, really, for
Inherent.
lack of, if I use this word, sweet.
Hmm.
I was shocked that she was shocked that she would go viral. I mean, nowadays you got a voice, you performing, you're a performer. Even if you don't have a phone out, even if you try to tell people don't record me, people are going to record you. And if you do hit, they may put it out there and be like, "Yo, I was at this dope event. She want this person they could sing." And a lot of artists that we know nowadays with through social media are getting picked up just that way. I
Right,
really like that scene. I really liked her friend, the girl, because she needed the support. Both of the girlfriends that she had gave her good support. Even the other girl in Atlanta did not sell out.
right, exactly. I
Yeah.
will say this, excuse me. So I know I said that there were a lot of different messages in this movie. Um, excuse me. And I felt like her friend violated to a certain extent by recording her and putting, her up on the internet. Um, this goes back to we talk about this all the time, Q, boundaries. And it's also about, your friends knowing who you are and you knowing who they are and respecting each other enough to say, hey, is it okay if I put this up? Because I do have those conversations with my friends and vice versa, because you never want to betray anyone's trust either.
Yeah. The reason why I'm glad you brought it up, I think that when you look at that, is that is something that would happen in a small town. Somebody just be so excited, and then they'd be like, "Got
Right.
an awesome voice," that they would probably violate that boundary. And like you said, that it was always some telltale signs that we probably would have picked up on, Ruth, that she had some issues going on,
Right.
but they knew it, but it was like an unspoken thing, like, she did that and the third. And even his boy, his as I would say, his partner in crime, the guy, he would have been like, yo, bro, Bo, something. He would have been like, yo, something ain't right, but what's to her? Like,
She was
she,
very mysterious.
yeah,
She was very
yeah,
mysterious. She was very standoffish. But I also, to a certain extent, it seemed like Ruth knew what she needed, but she didn't know what she needed.
yeah, yeah.
And I
Very
think
interesting.
in both instances where she was with the first boyfriend, um, she didn't necessarily like being vulnerable. And when she allowed herself to be vulnerable enough to care for someone else, this happened. So now she it's like she swore off love or getting close to anyone because she didn't want to be hurt and she didn't want anyone else to be hurt. So in the beginning of the movie, she didn't understand what she really needed, and towards the end of the movie, she didn't really understand what she needed until, to tell you the truth, I feel like until she recognized the love and forgiveness and grace from Naomi that
And
allowed
and
her to
that's
break her heart.
that's the interesting part, is that there's so much more they could. And I'm not criticizing the movie, because I told you we probably wouldn't do it if we didn't appreciate the movie. But it's so much there that Naomi literally said, "Get your hands off my daughter."
Right,
So her leading up to that point in that time of grief, and sometimes grief takes on a whole different face.
right,
Somewhere in that point where they used each other when they were in their time of grief and need, I believe they could have showed us more of their bonding.
right.
I
Agree.
mean, they started cleaning the house up together, and then the next thing you know, the church folks came over and fixed the house up. Like, they could have gave us that, and even Naomi speaking about her upbringing a little bit when she said, "People don't leave this town,
Right.
and when you leave, you kind of don't come back." I mean, like I said, I appreciated it, but I just think it could have been more.
I also love the fact that it touched on, excuse me, this older elder opening up herself and opening up her home to this younger woman, even if she didn't necessarily know, that she was the cause of or the catalyst for her husband and her son losing their lives. She knew that something was off, but she still opened up her home. She opened up her heart for this woman. And another message, it touched on one, having respect for your elders, and two, being okay with opening up your heart and your time to actually let an elder mentor you.
But one of the things, and probably why, um, and you bring up a very interesting point, is I was in that situation, probably 2015. I have an elder. I have an elder that's a mentor. I have three mentors, and two of them are older. One of them passed away, unfortunately, but two of them that right now, presently, they're both women. And one of them became my mentor in a very unique situation, just by happenstance. And one thing I'm gonna say about having an elder mentor, and particularly an elder mentor of the opposite sex, is you have to be open to what they're telling you. You have to be honest with them about your view on any subject that y'all choose to talk about. And I will honestly say that this particular elder taught me how to love, um, to the point where every relationship, probably since she became my mentor, and we're not talking about just personal relationship, every friendship, she's has some way of shaping my view of that friendship.
Okay.
And in this film, you see how that, and I really think they could have. This is where I go back to keep saying they could have gave us more, because there's so much there. Like they
Right.
knocked it out of the park so well in a short period of time that it was so much to the story that they could have told us that, because that mentor, when you do have that type of mentor and you're honest with that mentor and that mentor is honest with you, and they use their life and their experience as an example for you to draw from,
Right.
it shapes your view of having patience, having grace, having understanding of people, and as they say, accept people where they are.
Right.
Some people are just where they are, and some people, we tend to sometimes be so judgmental and then forget where we came from. And I got a lot from the film. Like I see exactly what you see. Like it was dope. It was dope. So let's for the sake of it, let's give it a rating. 1 to 10, one being the lowest, 10 being the highest. I know that me and the other, Keisha and Dwayne, we always do a rating on our review show. So we're doing a review, so we might as well give it a rating.
Okay. I give it. There's so many different mitigating factors regarding my score, but I give it about a 7 out of 10. A 7 out of 10.
Good.
I love the positive spin at the end.
You like the casting?
I love the casting. Yes, I think every character played their part well.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
Okay.
I think the casting awesome. I think they all, like you said, they all did their role, and nobody's role overshadowed nobody else's.
Indeed.
Even though Naomi did the narrating, she did the narrating from her perspective,
Right.
and she witnessed a love story. She's seen all this play out, so to say. I thought that was good. I do think that, like I said, it probably would have gotten higher than a 7.5 if they would have gave us a little bit more backstory
Yeah.
on a couple other issues. Um, I think Sierra has a amazing voice, man. Oh my goodness, she really, sometimes you don't appreciate actresses who can really sing, and she really has a hell of a voice.
I was really surprised that she was able to sing that genre and actually kill it. I was like, okay. So that was really surprising. It actually was a very pleasant surprise.
It's funny that you said that, because one of the things, I'm not a person that watches The Voice, right?
Oh.
However, I watched The Voice a couple times this week. Just had the TV on, and I was doing stuff, and it came on.
Mm.
I was watching Peacock, and it came on, right? And one of the things that I'm learning, even with The Voice, and I remember American Idol, I haven't watched American Idol in years, but with The Voices, I, even when I was in culinary school, what they would do is the teachers or the instructors would sometimes look at the demographic that you come from and force you to be a little bit more diverse in your, as far as music and singing a different genre, because a lot of times the depth of your voice, you don't really know
Where you fit.
You only sing what you think that you can sing, and
Right.
not your true skill set. So you're absolutely right. She nailed the song.
She did. It was a feel good movie. Even though there were, deaths, etc. It was a feel good movie. This is my time of year. Q. I love the Christmas movie. So at the end of that movie, I was able to smile, and I enjoyed
You ain't dropped one.
that. No, I didn't drop one,
You go
but
like this times, like
I did that. That's what you were doing. Oh my gosh.
twice,
I
just twice.
definitely enjoyed. I enjoyed the movie. I like the positive vibe that the movie gave. I
Yeah,
definitely enjoyed it, and I wish that we could have more movies with a cast of color that leave us feeling really good at the end.
absolutely, absolutely. So, any final thoughts? Any comments? Anything you want to tell our audience? Like, this is different at all the times that we've done any episode of Conversation with Friends. We've never done reviews. Is it something you want to tell people? Do you look forward to doing reviews? Do they want us to do book reviews? It's very interesting. I will say that people don't realize how much in common a lot of people do have. So, if you think that Melodic and myself would be good with maybe a book review. I read a lot of books. I know she reads books. Don't give us no daggone dictionary to read. But if you have us that want to give us a book review or movie or show reviews, just let us know in the comments, or let them reach out to Melodic or myself, and we'll try to do it. I know that Melodic will put me on. She'll put me on some stuff. In the sake of our conversations, and I may get to it, unfortunately, or don't, and then she'll be like, "Well, did you do what I?" And I'll be like, "Oh no, it was." Hopefully, going forward, we'll have something. Um, what about you? What
Um,
you think?
I do want to say, if you are watching this show, if you enjoy our shows, this is something new for us. That's one. But two, I do want to say, please support positive Black films. So if you are watching this show, take it. I'm sure you have Netflix. Who doesn't have Netflix? Watch Netflix. Watch this movie, because the more streams this movie gets, the more positive Black films and casts we will see on Netflix and other platforms like that. If you want to see this type of stuff, invest in it. Give them that stream. It's not going to cost you anything. You're paying for
And that,
Netflix anyway.
yeah, and that's key. What Melodic said. A lot of times we don't realize that we watch these films, and even at the end of the Netflix, you could press that thumbs up button. Press that thumbs up button at the end of the film. Let them know. I mean, when we tag clips or the review show, tag the artists, tag the studios, because there isn't never going to be enough of our stories being represented on the silk screen. It should never be in 2025. It should not be black film. It should just be film. We've
Indeed.
been around doing this type of stuff for so long, but at a certain point, we should not be the first, or a person should not be the first for us to do something. There are beautiful stories that we have that we can display on film.
Right.
So, with that, we appreciate you guys. And until next time, check us out every other Sunday at least. With Conversations with Friends, remember to like, share, subscribe. Definitely can run to those comments. Tell us right, wrong, or indifferent how you feel about our review. Tell us what you saw, what you thought after the show, because it may increase our eye to see it through your lens. So with that, take care. Have a great night.